Hello everyone, welcome to the Ichimoku.co daily stock market review for the trading day ending Monday, August 17th. Well, firstly to the S&P 500, and here we see the buyers coming into the market strongly today and coming off the support at the top of this highlighted yellow zone. That yellow zone has been a very very area of support for quite some time, and through this large range that the market's formed over the last couple of months, and the zone extends all the way down to the 2040 area, but for the last few days of trading we've seen the top of the zone, roughly about 2080, hold a strong support. We also saw the combination of the support coming in at the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, so extra strong support down there, and the market testing through the Tenkan-sen indicator, the green line, and bouncing off there in a bullish way. Now some good solid upside momentum was built between the open and the close, and the market closed in a very strong bullish manner with the buyers in control above 2100, and this suggests that there is potential for the market to trade to higher levels, and initially we'll be watching 2114 to perhaps hold as resistance if the buyers are strong enough to trade up through to there. Looking at our bands, however, and the bands really tell us a story of a neutral market, a fairly neutral market in the medium-term time frame, with the market continuing to trade within the bands. Importantly, however, has been the support coming in at the bottom of the bands here. I nearly said Ichimoku cloud. It's the bands here, the one standard deviation bands, and 2082 is where they trade at the moment, and that's an area that we should be watching closely. If we see a strong bearish close down below there and strong bearish follow through, we certainly could see the market continue to trade lower. If the buyers do come into the market looking to the upper band at 2108 to hold as resistance, but a bullish breach above there could see the market trade to higher levels. Moving next to the Dow Jones 30, and here we've seen support coming in once again at the 17350 level, a very important level for the last week or so. The market testing down through there or just to there, and being quite strongly rejected from there on multiple occasions. If we look very closely at this market though, it's very different than the S&P, and where we have the S&P hovering above and below the Ichimoku cloud, we have a market that's trending down in the second time frame below the Ichimoku cloud, and suggesting that this market is more advanced in the longer term and medium term time frames, and suggesting that we certainly could see this market trade to lower levels. With today's candle, some build of momentum, the buyers taking control, breaching through 17536, and a likely bounce up to either 17603 or through to the Kijun-sen resistance around 17630. If we see some selling coming in around this area, we then could see the market test back down through to 17350, but that is an area that we should be watching very closely if we do test down to there. And just looking at the bands here with the Dow 30, and yes, a little bit different than we saw with the S&P, but still trading within the band, so not a strong downtrending market, but we have seen the market trading down below the middle of the bands, and the bands pointing down, highlighting that we have some downside momentum. We see the series of lower peaks and lower troughs, and the market finding resistance around that middle band and never penetrating through there, so it's suggesting that we have a negative bias, not a strong one at the moment, but if we do breach outside of the lower band, it will suggest that in relative terms we do have a strong negative bias in the market in the medium term time frame. At the moment we should be watching the middle band trading at 17583 for today's trading to hold as a resistance if the buyers are strong enough to test up through to there. Moving next to the NASDAQ 100, and the buyers coming into this market very strongly today. Very large white body candle, one of the largest that we've seen for the last few days, and suggesting strong upside momentum. The buyers closing with strong control and a bullish breach above 4562. Now, having said that, however, the market has tested right to the Kijun-sen indicator, so we could see some resistance coming in there. A lot will depend on how the market opens for the next day's trading, and a bullish open up above the this 4562 area, and the Kijun-sen could see the NASDAQ 100 continue to trade higher. Important for this market was the bounce off the 45.10 level of previous support and resistance, and the bottom of this highlighted zone, and trading through the top of the zone, and suggests that the buyers have come into this market strongly, and strong follow through could see this market eventually testing up to around this 46.15 level, or perhaps even up to about 46.34. Moving next to the ETFs, and we're looking at the asset class ETFs, and broadly considering commodity markets as an asset class here with tradable ETF, trending down very strongly down below each of the Ichimoku indicators on the daily charts here. Negativity in this market today, and in terms of relative strength comparative against the US equities market, trending down very strongly down below the lower band, and strongly underperforming the SPY ETF, which represents the S&P 500. In terms of momentum of that relative strength, however, there has been a tick up in it, and suggesting we actually could see this market start to move higher in terms of relative strength, but certainly not begin to outperform yet. Next to the gold ETF, and here we've seen a recovery in the short-term time frame, with GLD, the gold ETF, trading up above the Tenkan-sen indicator and being able to do so for the last week and a half. The problem here for this market, however, has been the Kijun-sen indicator, trading at 107.29 and testing on a couple of occasions, unable to breach there. A solid bullish breach up above there could see the gold ETF continue to trade higher, perhaps up to the Ichimoku cloud around the 112 region, but in terms of relative strength, had been solidly underperforming and now starting to outperform the equities market. And if we look at the momentum of the relative strength, now up above the 100% level and trending up very strongly, so potential for gold to now start to outperform the equities market on a very short-term basis on the daily charts, but that would depend on a breach, and a bullish breach up above the Kijun-sen indicator. Next, we're looking at IGF, which is the Global Infrastructure Index Fund ETF, and this is a market that was strongly underperforming for some time, trading below each of the Ichimoku indicators, and over the last couple of weeks has been hovering above and below both the Kijun-sen and the Tenkan-sen. Maintaining price action in a bullish manner up above the Kijun-sen suggests that we now have a strong bullish market in both the medium and fast-term timeframes, and we did find some resistance around the Ichimoku cloud, and now trading within the Ichimoku cloud, so transitioning from a strong negative phase in the longer term time frame to a neutral phase. A lot will depend on if we see a breach up above the Ichimoku cloud. That could take some time to occur, but we're starting to see perhaps some reallocation away from the US equities into infrastructure on a global basis by trading up above the upper band, and momentum of that relative strength is now trending up and up above the 100% level. And the important one here to be looking at is TLT, which is the Barclays 20+ year Treasury bond fund. That is longer term bonds, and we are seeing a reallocation of resources here away from equities into this market. About a week or so we saw a bullish breach up above the Ichimoku cloud. We were waiting for that to occur to give us confirmation. The market now finding strong support at the Tenkan-sen indicator half a dozen days or so after the breach, and we haven't seen any strong bullish activity, so I'd like to see the market trade up above this swing high around 125.72 in a bullish manner. And the important thing here, however, is that we're now seeing the TLT ETF strongly outperform the SPY ETF, so bonds here and longer term bonds are outperforming the overall broader US equities market. Looking to a strong sector here now, we're looking at sector ETFs. XLU is the code, it's the utility sector ETF, and here we have good sustained bullish price action up above each of the Ichimoku indicators. The Chica span is supporting this strong bullish activity on the daily charts, remember, however. But if we look at this last candle here, we have formation of an indecisive doji or spinning top type candle, suggesting a decision in the market. There is a possibility of a retracement, but I suggest that if we do see some selling coming into this market, we're likely to find very strong support at the Tenkan-sen, trading at 42.50, and then we're likely to see the buyers come back into the market. In terms of relative strength, strongly outperforming the S&P, so this is the sector we should be looking at on a short-term basis, and we've seen a flow of funds into the utility sector. In terms of momentum of relative strength, or relative strength comparative, we are seeing the market trade up above the 100% level and strongly performing outside of that upper band, and suggesting that we certainly could see a continuation to this strong performance. Looking next at a couple of stocks, and first is Facebook. FB is the code, and previously where we saw a very strong outperformance against the overall market, over the last couple of weeks we've seen the market test down to the Kijun-sen indicator and now hovering above and below the Tenkan-sen, suggesting a lot of indecision in this market in the short-term time frame. For the past week, the market has been trading below the Tenkan-sen, so suggesting a negative market in that short-term time frame. But the Kijun-sen has been holding as very strong support, and we've tested down to there again today, failing to close below there. Any strong bearish activity below the Kijun-sen could see Facebook start to trend down quite strongly. In terms of relative strength, we had been trading on par with the S&P 500 for the past couple of weeks as compared to this strong outperformance, but just over the last couple of days starting to underperform and just ticking down below that lower band, and suggesting we could see a strong underperformance. And I think a lot will depend on if we breach down below and close down below that Kijun-sen indicator. Momentum of relative strength is trending now very strongly and is now below the 100% level, so suggesting that we could start to see the trend in relative strength continue down solidly. But as I've mentioned, a lot will depend if we breach the Kijun-sen trading at 93.83. Next, looking to another stock, Sprint, Nextel Corp. S is the code, and here we see a very strong recovery. The market previously trading down below each of the Ichimoku indicators, strongly underperforming on a relative strength basis, but over the last couple of weeks a solid bullish breach up above both the Kijun-sen and Tenkan-sen, the retracement to now find support at the Tenkan-sen, highlighting the strong bullish activity in the short-term time frame, and today the market breaching through the top of the Ichimoku cloud in a bullish manner. What we want to see here is some strong follow-through, and the market breaching up through some strong resistance, significantly about this 481 level, and perhaps up above the $5 level. In terms of relative strength comparative, strongly outperforming the overall market, and momentum of relative strength is moving up very strongly and up above the 100% level, so suggesting that if we do see that strong follow through, we could see the market find some support around the top of the Ichimoku cloud eventually, and then the buyers come back into the market.